Welcome to time-tested advice, where ancient philosophy meets the modern world. Let's be real for a minute. Have you ever sat there after sex and wondered, what does he actually want now? Does he just want space? A nap? A snack? Maybe you've been told the old story that men are easy to figure out. Once it's over, they're done. That once he gets what he wants, he checks out. But that idea, it's outdated. And worse, it's wrong. If you're a woman who's ever felt a strange emptiness after being close with someone, like something important is missing, then what you're about to learn might change everything. Here's the truth most people never talk about. The most powerful chance to build real emotional closeness with a man doesn't come before or during sex. It happens after. And it's not just some feel-good idea. It's backed by science, by relationship experts, and by how the male brain actually works. Here's the twist. Most men don't even realize they're craving this connection. They feel it, they want it, but they don't know how to express it. And that silence creates confusion, mixed signals, and emotional distance in relationships that had the potential to be something amazing. Why does this happen? Because we've all been fed a lie, a nice-sounding but harmful story that says men want the pleasure, not the connection. That once the physical part is done, their emotions shut off too. But science tells a very different story. The truth is, many men feel most open and emotionally available after sex. But they've been trained to hide that part of themselves. This video is going to take you inside that hidden space. Inside a man's mind and heart in those quiet moments after sex, where something soft, real, and deeply human is trying to come forward. We'll explore 6 key emotional truths that most men won't say out loud, but desperately want you to understand. You'll discover what relationship experts call the vulnerability window, the short period after intimacy when his emotional walls come down and his need to feel close is at its highest. And if you know how to meet him there, you don't just become attractive, you become unforgettable. This isn't just about keeping a man, it's about reaching the deepest part of him, the part very few people ever see. And by the end of this, you'll understand how to create a kind of closeness most women don't even know is possible. Are you ready to find out the one truth that could make you stand out in his heart forever? Then stay with me. What you learn next might shift the way you see love completely. Let's start with the biggest myth, that men are emotionally distant after sex. For years, we've seen this message everywhere, from TV shows and movies to things people casually say. He rolls over, turns on the TV, maybe cracks a joke, and you're left wondering, was that it? Did it mean nothing to him? But what if that behavior isn't what it seems? From a young age, boys are told to toughen up, to hide their feelings, to never seem needy. They're taught that being open or vulnerable is weak, that real men don't ask for comfort. So they learn to separate emotion from intimacy, not because that's how they truly feel, but because it protects them. They don't want to seem soft, they don't want to risk being misunderstood, and so, even when they deeply care, they pull back after sex, not because they don't want more, but because they don't know how to ask for it. And here's where it gets painful. Many women have also been taught their own set of rules. If he doesn't stay and cuddle, if he doesn't say anything sweet, we start to feel unsure. We start overthinking, wondering if it was just physical for him. We feel rejected. And then we pull back. And in that silence, both sides end up feeling alone, misunderstood, and hurt. That's how the distance begins. Not because there was no love, but because no one knew how to express it in that delicate moment. And we see it happen again and again. Sex that should have brought two people closer instead drives them apart. She feels like he doesn't care. He feels like she's mad or cold. No one speaks the truth. And the chance to build a deeper bond slips away. But here's the powerful truth. Science and real conversations with men show us that most men want emotional closeness just as much as women do, sometimes even more. They just don't know how to say it. Their emotions are real. Their need for bonding is strong, but they've been taught to hide it behind jokes, distractions, or silence. This is what experts call the intimacy gap, the space between what men feel and what they're able to show. And that gap is easiest to see right after sex. It's a moment where his heart is open, but his mind is scared. His body wants to stay connected, but his habits tell him to retreat. We've all seen it. One moment you're close, the next, something shifts, and neither of you knows how to talk about it. So we fall into a pattern. Be intimate, then pull away. Confuse each other, get quiet, feel distant, repeat. And sadly, when women start believing that this is just how men are, they stop hoping for real emotional connection. They stop asking for it. They stop offering it. And in doing that, both sides lose. Men lose the chance to feel truly loved, not just wanted for their bodies, but cherished for who they are. They miss out on being seen and understood, and they often lose the woman who could have met them in their most vulnerable place, if only she had known that place was even there. So, let me ask you, how many quiet moments have passed you by simply because no one told you what he was really feeling? How many times have you assumed he didn't care when he was actually just scared to show that he did? How often have you misread silence as distance when it was really his unspoken cry for closeness? The truth is, we've all been misled, men and women alike. Told that feelings are for girls, that post-sex connection is clingy or needy. Told that physical attraction is enough to build love. But it's not. Love grows in the quiet, tender moments where we choose to stay open instead of shutting down. And those moments? They're not rare. They're right there, after sex, in the stillness, waiting for us to notice, waiting for us to meet each other without the walls. But not anymore, because now you understand. You've realized that what might seem like distance could actually be a quiet, deep need for closeness. That man lying next to you may want to feel just as connected as you do, even if he doesn't know how to show it. The idea that men stop caring after sex, it's just a story we've been told. And it's not true. Once you see the real picture, you can't ignore it. You start listening more carefully. You begin touching with purpose. You begin treating those calm, quiet minutes after intimacy as special. And something starts to shift. He doesn't pull away. He leans in. His guard drops. He lets you into the parts of him that even he didn't know were shut off. And suddenly, the story changes. What once felt cold becomes warm. The silence becomes meaningful. The moment becomes something he won't forget, not because of how good the sex was, but because of how safe and emotionally full it felt. That's the power of truly seeing, the power of being present, the power of changing what we've believed about men. And it starts with letting go of the idea that they don't feel, because they do. They feel so much, deeply and constantly. And when you show up with calm understanding, instead of pressure or need, you become someone he doesn't just sleep with, but someone who touches his heart. And when that happens, everything changes. Not because you're doing more, but because you're finally seeing him fully. And you're letting him see you, too. That's when love becomes real, not just something you perform, but something you live. Forget what you've been told. Let go of what society taught you. Think about this instead. The man who seems distant after sex might actually be holding on to the deepest need of all. He doesn't want to be alone. He doesn't need a distraction. What he truly wants is you. The real, emotionally present you. The one who sees what's behind the quiet and stays anyway. Let's talk about what's actually going on inside his brain. Forget the behavior for a moment. Let's look at the science. While most people assume men disconnect emotionally after sex, their brains tell a very different story. During physical intimacy, and especially in the quiet minutes that follow, a man's brain gets a flood of oxytocin. That's the same hormone linked to love, bonding, and emotional closeness. We usually hear about it in the context of women and babies, but it's just as strong in men. In fact, studies have shown that men sometimes get even higher oxytocin boost after sex than women do. But here's the catch. While women are encouraged to lean into that bonding, to cuddle, to talk, to connect, men are often taught to shut it down. They're trained to stay cool, not get too close, and to move on quickly. This creates a huge internal conflict. His body wants to connect. His brain is ready to bond. But his habits and conditioning push him in the opposite direction. So when he gets quiet or seems distant, it's not because he doesn't care. It's because there's a tug-of-war happening inside him. One part is calling for closeness, and the other part has been trained to walk away. Over time, this hidden struggle leaves a mark. When that emotional need goes unmet again and again, the brain begins to feel like something is missing. Yes, the sex may be physically satisfying, but emotionally it starts to feel empty. And the more this keeps happening, the more his mind begins to link intimacy with emptiness. This can lead to a pattern called intimacy avoidance. He might still want sex, but he starts pulling back emotionally. Not because he's lost interest, but because something inside him is protecting itself from hurt. That's when relationships start to drift, when passion cools off, when closeness is replaced by routine, when love starts to feel like something you're acting out instead of something you're actually feeling. But here's where things can change. That moment after sex isn't just downtime. It's a key opportunity to build emotional connection. That short window, maybe 15 or 30 minutes, is when his heart is most open, when his mind and body are wired to connect deeply. If you're present in that moment, if you hold space without pressure, you become the safest place for his heart to land. And when that happens, when he feels emotionally received, something powerful begins. His stress drops, his trust grows. He begins to link you not just with pleasure, but with emotional safety. And over time, this becomes a deep emotional pattern, a memory he associates with love. That's when you become the woman he doesn't just want, but truly needs. His comfort, his calm, his home. Not because you tried harder, but because you saw what others didn't. And when you show up in that gentle, unspoken way, you'll see him come alive. He'll open up. He'll talk more. He'll seek your presence, not just your body. You'll discover a kind of connection most people only dream about, one that goes far beyond the physical. Have you ever noticed that moment, when he looks at you differently after sex? When his breathing slows, his shoulders relax, and you feel like he's more emotionally open than before. That's not your imagination. That's biology. That's oxytocin, softening his defenses. That's your chance to connect on a deeper level. And all it takes is awareness. A simple shift from routine to presence, from assuming to understanding. And when you become the kind of partner who gets this, who really sees this invisible emotional process, everything changes. You create space for his whole self to show up. Not just the strong, capable man you know, but also the softer, more emotional part he hides. And when that space opens up, your love deepens. It grows stronger. It lasts. Because now, it's not just physical, it's emotional. It's real. Isn't that what real love is all about? Not just passion, but peace. Not just sparks, but steady warmth. A kind of closeness that brings you both back again and again to each other. This is what science has been trying to show us. This is what men have been trying to feel but couldn't explain. Now that it makes sense to you, you can finally begin to take action on it. You can turn quiet moments into bonding rituals. You can stop guessing and start knowing. And once you do, there's no going back. Because now the fog has cleared. The old story is broken, and in its place is something rare, something real, a map to the heart of the man you love. And that, more than anything, is where the real journey begins. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, but still sensing that something important was missing? Like there was a piece of the puzzle you just couldn't find? This might be it. If you've ever noticed him pulling away after an intimate moment and didn't understand why, it's not just in your head. Now, there's an answer. And if you've ever wished that love could feel not just passionate, but lasting and deep, the good news is, it can. And this could be where it all begins. So, if something in this message clicks with you, if you feel a quiet voice inside saying, "This is what I've been waiting for," then take a step forward. Do something brave, like this video, comment below, or just make a decision to see things differently. Let this be your signal that you're ready to tap into something deeper, the power of feminine energy, emotional awareness, and a new way to connect. If this speaks to you, drop a 1 in the comments to say, "Yes, this is me." And don't forget to subscribe, because what's coming next? It's even more powerful. This is only the beginning. Let's talk about something almost no one notices: the gap. That quiet moment right after being close, when everything should feel connected, but instead, something goes silent. That pause between affection and confusion, between his body being close and his heart feeling far. It's tiny, but it matters more than we realize. It's what we call the intimacy gap. And once you start to notice it, you'll see how much it affects your relationship. Imagine this. You've just shared something tender and passionate. You're both breathing slowly, your bodies still warm. But then suddenly, something changes. He turns away, goes quiet, maybe checks his phone, gets up, or just lies there, but distant. That sweet closeness you just shared starts to feel like it's slipping away. You notice it, that small ache, that whisper of doubt. You wonder, was that just physical for him? You don't want to seem needy, so you stay quiet. But inside, something feels off. Something inside you starts to pull back too. Here's what's really happening. This isn't about him not caring. It's not that he doesn't love you. It's not rejection. What you're feeling is the result of something deeper, something he probably doesn't even know how to talk about. It's the space between what he feels and what he's learned to show. That gap is where so many emotional bonds are either strengthened or slowly broken. And here's why it matters. Every time a man's emotional needs are missed after sex, not ignored on purpose, just not seen, it leaves a small bruise, not on his skin, but in his heart. He might not even notice it consciously, but deep down, it stings. And after a while, those little stings add up. Slowly, without meaning to, he starts to feel like intimacy is followed by distance, not closeness. That being vulnerable leads to tension, not safety. That love becomes something confusing, not comforting. So over time, even though he still wants you, he may start pulling away emotionally. You might feel him becoming colder, less loving, harder to reach. He might not understand why he feels off. He might feel annoyed or restless without knowing what's wrong. But the truth is, his heart is still searching for something he was never taught to ask for: emotional presence. It's not about wanting more sex. It's not about needing space. What he deeply wants, though he may not know it, is someone who stays emotionally close in the moments after being physically close. But he's been trained to shut down instead. Since childhood, boys are told to toughen up, hide emotions, stop crying. So even the most loving man can grow into someone who doesn't know how to stay open after intimacy, especially when he's feeling raw, relaxed, and real. And that's what causes this gap. It's not your fault. It's not his fault. But here's the good part. It can change. When you stop seeing his quietness as rejection and start seeing it as a habit he learned, everything shifts. You stop taking it personally. You stop feeling confused, and instead you become the person who meets him in that quiet space with calm, with warmth, with understanding, not pressure. And when you do this, something amazing happens. He begins to feel safe. His nervous system calms. His emotional walls start to come down. And little by little, he learns that being close to you doesn't end in distance. It ends in connection. You become the one who doesn't just reach his body, but reaches the parts of him no one else ever sees. That's how real trust is built. That's where intimacy grows strong. But it takes intention. It doesn't just happen. It's a choice you make to stay present when it would be easier to pull away. To see his silence not as indifference, but as a quiet request for love. To be there, not just physically, but emotionally, for the man behind the mask, the one who is still learning how to be seen. Closing the emotional gap between you and your partner doesn't happen in a single night. It's something that's been built over years of silent struggles, learned habits, and cultural beliefs that taught both men and women to guard their feelings. But something starts to shift the moment you stop judging that distance and start getting curious about it. You begin to notice the little things, the slight pause before he touches you, the way his eyes look softer even if he stays quiet, the way his breathing slows like he wants to relax but doesn't know how. These are the hidden moments where connection can either fade or grow deeper. When you respond in these moments with kindness instead of pressure, offering a gentle touch, a calm presence, or even a quiet signal that says, "You're safe with me," you start creating a new experience for him. One where after sex isn't a time to shut down, but a chance to open up. One where he's no longer afraid to be sensitive or emotional, because you're showing him that it's okay to be that way with you. And as you keep offering that safe space, something beautiful happens. He begins to trust you more, not just as a partner, but as a refuge. A place where he can let go, stop pretending, and just be himself. That's what builds real emotional closeness, not big romantic gestures, but these soft, often unnoticed moments of openness. And the best part? You don't need to fix anything. You don't have to say the perfect words. Sometimes just being there, calm, warm and present, is all it takes. In those quiet moments, something powerful begins. He starts to connect you, not just with passion, but with peace. Not just with desire, but with comfort. Not just with love, but with healing. And that feeling of emotional safety, that's the kind of energy that truly draws him in. Because when a man feels that kind of security with someone, his heart opens in ways even he didn't expect. He becomes more loving, more thoughtful, more open. He starts protecting the relationship, not out of fear, but out of deep care. He begins to value you not just for the physical closeness, but for how you make him feel about who he is when he's with you. That's when true love and lasting devotion take root. Not through games or trying to impress him, but through real emotional connection. All the walls he's built up, all the habits of hiding his feelings, all the ideas that told him to stay silent or look strong, they begin to fade. What comes forward instead is his real, unguarded self. And no, it won't be flashy. It won't always look like a grand confession. It might just be the way he holds you a little longer, or how his eyes soften when he looks at you. The way he sighs, releasing not just air, but pressure. Or the way he pauses before he gets up, not because he's unsure, but because he's feeling something he doesn't want to lose. Sadly, this is the moment many women miss, not because they don't care, but because no one told them it mattered. Many were taught that men just need space after sex, that pulling away is normal. But that's not his natural instinct. It's what he was taught. Deep down, he wants connection. He wants to feel emotionally seen, not just physically close. And in this post-intimate moment, his body is still full of oxytocin, the hormone that brings trust and bonding. His system is slowing down, relaxing. He's actually at his most open. This is the moment where you leave a lasting mark, not through sex, but through presence, not through words, but through energy. If you fill that space with peace instead of pressure, if you offer touch instead of talk, if you stay instead of stepping away, he begins to anchor himself to you. Not because he's trapped or convinced, but because, maybe for the first time, he feels that his emotions are welcome too. That what he feels is safe here. And when his emotions and his physical experience finally match, something rare happens. That's when deep, lasting connection is formed. That's when devotion is built. Not through effort or control, but through real understanding. That's why this small, quiet window after intimacy is so important. It's not about holding him longer with your hands. It's about holding him deeper, with your energy, your stillness, your awareness. Because if this window is missed again and again, something painful can begin. His brain starts to link intimacy with being alone afterward, with feeling open and then shut out. He might not say it out loud. He might not even know he feels it. But slowly, he becomes less open, less warm, less emotionally close. He starts to guard his heart, not just in hard times, but even in love. And this emotional distance doesn't show up all at once. It creeps in shorter talks, in colder looks, in less affection. Until one day, you wonder what happened, why he feels different, why the closeness is gone. And often the answer lies in this moment, the one that kept getting missed over and over until it became a quiet, growing wound. Here's the amazing part. This can change. It's not too late. You can start over. That special moment of closeness after being intimate isn't a one-time shot. It comes back every time you're together. Again and again, you get the chance to open up a little more, to connect a little deeper. And when you step into that moment with kindness and awareness, something powerful happens. You meet him right where he really is. And more than that, you help him grow into the man he's meant to be. You become a mirror that reflects parts of him he's been hiding for years. The side that longs to be cared for, not just admired for being tough or successful, but truly seen for who he is underneath all that. You bring out a softer side of his strength, one that only comes alive around a woman who knows how to stay, not just in the heat of passion, but in the quiet that comes after. When a man feels safe in that quiet, something shifts. He starts to trust. He starts to feel loyal, not because he has to, but because he wants to. He stops looking for approval elsewhere. He begins reaching for you, not just when he wants your body, but when he wants to feel understood. That's when he starts showing emotional strength. Not because he's protecting himself from pain, but because he's letting you in. And in those moments, you become more than his partner. You become his safe place. The one who gets him without needing long explanations. The one who makes him feel calm without taking control. The one he can't replace. Not because you try hard, but because you simply understand him. So, what does it mean to really step into that moment with him? It's not complicated. It's slowing down afterward. It's gently touching him, not out of habit, but with meaning. It's whispering something real, not about what just happened, but about how you feel. Simple things like, "I love how peaceful this feels," or "I feel so close to you right now," or even just, "I love being here with you." Those little words matter. They stick with him. They're like soft signals to his brain saying, "It's okay to stay open. It's safe to feel. You don't have to prove anything." And those signals, they build new pathways in his mind. They help him link intimacy with comfort, with closeness, with safety. You become more than just someone he sleeps with. You become the one he emotionally returns to. And if you're thinking, what if he doesn't react? Or what if he pulls away anyway? That's okay too. Sometimes he will. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. This isn't about changing him. It's about showing up with calm, steady energy. That quiet kind of power that only a woman who truly understands her worth can give. Over time, his body will feel it. His heart will begin to notice the difference. And without even knowing why, he'll start leaning in, because it feels better with you. You see, men are built for connection too, but they need to feel safe before they can open up. And you, just by being present and warm, are the one who holds that key. When you use it with care, you don't just open his heart. You unlock a kind of love neither of you may have known before. That's why these moments after intimacy aren't just nice. They're where everything begins. Real trust, more frequent closeness, less confusion, more talking, more understanding. A love that grows instead of fading. Because when a man feels emotionally connected, everything starts to change. He becomes more caring, more open, more tuned in. And suddenly, you're not chasing his attention. He gives it freely, not out of guilt, not out of pressure, but because he truly wants to. He wants to show up for you. He wants to create something strong and lasting. And all of that starts in the quiet space you offer after the moment of passion. In that soft space where words don't always need to be spoken, but connection is still being made. So if this message hits home for you, if you're seeing your relationships or even your past in a new light, Don't keep that realization hidden. Let it out. Like this video as a way to say, yes, this matters. That you're someone who sees beyond the surface, someone who's ready for deeper love. Write, "I am the tested" in the comments if you're ready to become that kind of woman. The one who knows how to meet a man in his most open moment and turn it into a bond he'll never forget. How to give him what he quietly craves without needing him to explain. Now that you understand what's really going on inside him after sex, that strange mix of openness, longing and confusion, let's talk about how you can meet that need. Not by pushing, not by trying too hard, but by gently welcoming him. This is where everything changes, because knowing the truth is only the start. Living it out, that's where the magic is. And here's the thing, most women have never been shown how to truly love a man in those tender, hidden places. You've been taught how to attract, how to keep things spicy. But this is deeper. This is where real love lives. And it starts with how you see him. You don't see his silence as distance anymore. You don't think his stillness means rejection. Instead, you see it for what it is. A quiet invitation. A request without words. Something his body and heart are whispering in the stillness after sex. And when you answer with the right kind of energy, the kind that welcomes instead of pressures, the kind that receives instead of demands, something stirs in him, something ancient, something deeply human. And in that moment, he doesn't just feel close to you, he feels like he's come home. There is something quietly powerful about a woman who stays, who doesn't rush to fill the silence, who doesn't flinch when things get real. And for a man, especially one who has never been given permission to feel, this is life-changing. You see, many men are walking around carrying heavy emotional baggage they've never spoken about. Old wounds from their childhood, moments when they felt alone but had to act like they were fine, times they were told to man up when what they really needed was a hug. These aren't just memories, they're scars. And they don't vanish overnight. They show up in how he flinches at affection, in how he goes quiet after sex, in how he seems to disappear emotionally right when you thought you were getting closer. It's not that he doesn't care, it's that he's scared. Scared of being seen in a way he doesn't know how to explain. Scared that if he opens up, he'll fall apart, and no one will know how to catch him. But here's where your presence becomes something sacred. When you choose to stay in that moment, not to push, not to fix, not to demand, just to stay, something inside him begins to shift. He may not show it at first. He may not even know what's happening, but his nervous system feels it. His heart feels it. You become the calm in his storm, the steady light in a world that always told him to hide his darkness. This kind of love isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's slow. It's quiet. But it's the kind of love that lasts. Because you're not just loving the parts of him that are strong and charming. You're loving the parts he hides, the parts that ache, the parts that long for softness and don't know how to ask. And when you do that, when you meet him with patience, grace and warmth, you don't just become someone he loves, you become someone he trusts. And for a man who's never felt safe to be fully himself, that kind of trust is everything. Love isn't built in the big, Instagrammable moments. It's built in the small, tender rituals you create together, the little things you repeat without even realizing they've become sacred. And nowhere is this more true than in the minutes after intimacy. That soft, quiet time right after sex is more powerful than most couples realize. Because in those moments, both of your hearts are open. His walls are down. His need for connection is higher than ever, and that's when you have the chance to create something real, a memory, a habit, a ritual that brings you even closer. Maybe it's as simple as placing your hand on his chest and listening to his heartbeat. Maybe it's whispering a word or two that reminds him he's loved, not just desired. Maybe it's lying still together, breathing in sync, letting the silence wrap around you like a blanket. These things might seem small, but they speak volumes to his nervous system. They tell him, this is safe. This is love. You can stay open. Over time, these rituals become anchors. They ground your relationship in something deeper than just chemistry. They become the reason he longs to come back to you, not just for the sex, but for the safety, for the peace, for the feeling of home. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to force any of this. You don't need scripts or perfect words. You just need presence, consistency, a willingness to keep choosing connection even when everything goes quiet. And when he realizes that after every moment of intimacy, you're still there, soft, steady, welcoming, he stops seeing sex as a performance. He starts seeing it as an opening, a bridge to something more. And you become the person he builds that bridge with again and again. Not just because you turn him on, but because you turn him toward himself, toward love, toward the version of connection that he never even knew was possible. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until next time.